Today, after a request, I've kind of decided to, again, not shift focus, but go a bit more in detail about one of the topics I've kind of touched on before. So here we go. Today, I'm going to talk all about Git and kind of versioning with source control. This comes extremely useful when you're basically developing any application, small, medium, large, because really and truly, you need to know what the state of your application is wherever it is. So if it's all in development, well, you need to know that everything in development is kind of there, and you know what code is actually there. That way, if another developer happens to join the team, or another developer, or you have to swap developers for whatever reason, it's not a problem. You can just kind of give them access to your source control, say get latest, and go from here. Of course, that only works if your developer really follows good practices and has everything source control. But that's something that you can kind of try to enforce, or you enforce as yourself because you're a developer. So today, I'm going to talk a bit more about that. I've played around with lots of the tools on GitHub, and I love what they can do. I'm only accessing stuff as a kind of open source account, not necessarily organization. With organizations, you can actually lock down a fair bit more of your actual activity. So you can actually lock down areas based on your contributors or anything like that. I'll get to that in a bit. But to start, we need a repository. So I just went to the create new repository page for GitHub, and here we are. So I'm just going to call it versioning demo, and in this demo, or in the description, showing the basic concepts of versioning using Git. Awesome. So sure, why not? Let's throw in a README file. So create repository. Awesome. So we have our base repository. I'll just copy this, paste it into my terminal, and pull it out. Okay, clone this. And I want to just throw it in the local directory. So it's copying it locally. Perfect. So now, if I look here, perfect. I have my README file. But the problem is, if I want to start working, I probably don't want to work in master branch. Your master branch is essentially your latest stable version of the application. So when you actually go into a release situation, this should be kind of the main area that you work on, or sorry, you merge into in order to make sure that the code is exactly what you're expecting. So as I said, you're going to have it as stable as can be. I should be able to basically push from this branch out to prod and lose nothing. So let's start by making a new branch. So you can either use the web interface for GitHub, or any of this, or kind of the Git commands. So I'm just going to throw it up here. Normally people have either development, any type of branch like that, and just hit create branch. Awesome. So now I have my branch developed, and if I really want to, I can go to the settings tab and change what the actual kind of base branch is if I really want to. I can change it to develop. I'm not going to, but I can. So anyways, so I'm making my application. I want to do this the right way. So let's go step by step. So in my local environment, so this is my local machine now, I have this demo folder in here. So I have master right now. So I'm just going to pull again to see, okay, what else is there? Hey, look, there's a new branch. git checkout our develop branch. It's now switched to that branch. Awesome. So this means that whatever I do isn't going to go into the main master. It's actually going to show up in this develop branch, which will allow for kind of parallel working streams. So let's just say I want to edit the README file. Awesome. Now we are in the develop branch. Obviously, you won't want to actually do that because that's a rather silly comment to put, especially it's going to be merged up or down, but what the heck. And now I'll get add README because they're actually, let's do a quick status. We see, okay, there's one file that's changed, which is expected. So I get add README saying I want to add the README file to source control, or the changes that I've made to the README file to source control. So git add and git commit dash. So I commit it and I say adjusting the README file for the branch, or for the develop branch. Awesome. So now I've committed locally. One thing that you'll know or notice, if I refresh master, hasn't changed. If I refresh develop, it hasn't changed. This has confused a lot of my friends, and it was actually really confusing when I first started, because coming from Subversion where everything is server bound, the idea of having this kind of develop branch and kind of committing it, but not actually committing it and pushing it, really confused me. So the last step I have to actually do here is git push. This will say, okay, push any of my changes I've made up to the server where we're hosting our repository. So now let's go, do a quick check. Oh, look, develop has changed less than a minute ago. So awesome. Now we are in the develop branch. And if I go back to master, absolutely nothing has changed. So as you can see, even with this, you're able to start piecing together some nice to-haves that you could have go here, or that could go here. So now let's start. So I want this to go to production. So I can either create a pull request or I can do the merge myself. I've actually just started using the pull request a fair bit because it really makes things easier. And since it's a tool built into GitHub, why not? If you're using GitHub to kind of source control as your source control. So here we go. So we see, okay, I've added these 2 new lines, and that's my comment. Awesome. So I'm able to merge it. So let's create a pull request. This is basically saying, hey, I want to merge this back into master, but just verify that you can do it and everything first. So it says, okay, there's no conflicts. Awesome. So now merge pull request. And of course I can adjust the message if I want. If I'm happy with it, I can just confirm merge. Now, the nice thing about this is when you do these, if you have things like Travis continuous integration or any of the styling kind of tools plugged in and set up, you're able to actually make it run these tests, run these builds before actually coming to you, or before actually accepting the merge. I've done this in the past for kind of all my open source projects, and it makes life so much easier. It's just saying, okay, is it going to build as soon as I do this merge? Yes, it will. Then we're good to go. And then, as you can see at the very bottom here, Pull request successfully merged and closed. You're all set. The develop branch can be safely deleted. This is now up to you. If you want to delete it to keep your kind of branches clean, all power to you. Just press the button. I'm going to keep it in for the sake of this demo, just because I'm going to have a few other changes I'm going to push through. So if we go back to code and see master, oh geez, now saying I'm in master, but saying I'm in the develop branch. That really doesn't work for me, but it is what it is. So let's just quickly check out the master branch. Oops. Git check out master, git pull. So yeah, again, downloading any changes that were made. And now, as you can see, is a fast forward saying I'm just replaying what was kind of done on the server, bring it back down locally. I can go readme, here's my change. Okay, cool. So it's all there. Let's just swap back to the develop branch. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but how do I kind of get this release out and rolling? So first things first, Git as well as GitHub allows for the concept of tagging. Tags are basically a numbered static release of, or a static release of your code up or at a certain point in time. So basically it takes this commit number or commit hash and uses that to lock down the code so that nothing comes in or out beyond that point. This allows for things like Composer and packages to really work to say I only want the release versions so that I know that these are the stable versions of the application. So let's just quickly run through the steps. So I can hit release. Oh, there aren't any releases yet. So I can hit, hey, let's just do this. Obviously this release isn't actually going to mean anything, so I'm just going to call it 0.0.1. Why not? And I'm going to base it off of, or I have a choice. I can either base it off of develop or master. But since our kind of main flowing point, or our main point of code and the most recent code that we trust is in master, I'm going to cut it off of that because that just means that I'm not going to cut something that's we don't really know the state of, which is what develop would be, and we will go from there. So my release title, testing a release, does it work? So I hit publish. This will, as I said, basically lock down source code to this latest commit. No, if I make any other changes to master or to develop, they won't show up here. This is actually really important because then you're able to really version and actually release things in numbered releases for your application. So let's just do another quick demo. So I'm making a change in, let's quickly swap back to dev. So I'm in dev, and let's just say I forgot period. So I save that. But then, oops, so I git add readme git commit add in a period and push it up. So I now see that develop has a change in it. Awesome. So You can see this branch is one commit ahead and one commit behind of master. So I can git pull and just double check, see what's up to date. Hey look, there's a new tag, which is one that we just made. But I now just realized that there's an issue kind of on the live site that I need to deal with. So I need to shelve what I was doing, kind of put it aside, and switch back to what I know is kind of the latest stable version and the one that we have out in our production environment. So I'm going to go in here and say, oh shoot, I just realized I needed a period here too. Otherwise the entire README doesn't make sense. So I do this, git add README, git commit, and in an extra period. Awesome. So git commit. Oops, I already did that. And git push. So this guy here, now pushing that up. And now, oh shoot. So now I have a change in both the develop branch as well as the master branch. Normally, when you're not using any source control, there's no real easy way to merge those two changes together. That is where the next part of source control that really comes in and helps you. Yet again, I can use either the git main interface to do a new pull request, or I can do it with any of the git commands. I'm yet again going to just quickly flow through here and say I want to go to develop, and now I want to do I'm one commit behind, or two behind and one ahead. So let's start pull request. Now it's saying, okay, so I want to go from, let's go from develop to master. So here we go. So now I'm going to actually bring my code base changes I've made in a live environment back down to the development environment. So I just press this, and then let's put in some text. So adding in a period, because why not? Create a pull request. This will actually, yet again, do the comparison, and it'll list all the changes that went into this. So it starts with my merging, and it adds in my second change. Awesome. So I can hit merge, and of course I can talk back and forth about anything that's going on. So let's hit commit and confirm merge, and there we go. So if I go back to here, git pull, git checkout develop. Let's just quickly get latest again. And here we go. We have this release. So it's all fine and dandy with README files and all that stuff. But how does it work with code? The exact same way. It starts by basically, the README file is just a simple example of the code. For bigger applications where you might have hundreds and hundreds of files, you will really be able to see and use what's going on. So let me just quickly give you an example. I've been using kind of GitHub to handle all my releases for IcePets. So I have this logs branch where I was developing some new features. I have my master, which is the live website, and then I have 49 releases. If you notice at the very bottom of the page, I have this version right down here. That actually relates to the version that I have right here in GitHub. That way, if anyone has a question about what went into that release, or any of the releases kind of prior to it, I'm able to just quickly glance through. I no longer have to use my memory, which, believe me, my memory is horrible. So I would never remember what actually went into a release. So I've actually run a few scripts that went or kind of use this to lock down what actually gets pushed into our production environment. And last but not least, I promised to quickly go through, with the basic free environment or open source for GitHub, you're able to add in collaborators and kind of have people helping you with your project. One second, let me just log in. So right now I have no one, but just say you have a friend, like this guy is a friend, a guy that I know, so I can add him in as a collaborator. Say, hey, I need your help. Could you start kind of coding with me to kind of help speed this along? The nice thing about the not corporate, but the business plans is, I will show you right over here, you can actually restrict access a lot to kind of different teams. So we have different teams here, and every team has a different group of people. With that, I'm able to actually say this person can read the repository, write the repository, and kind of access that. So if you are a bigger company, you're actually able to lock down who can see and use what. Because of all that, I love using GitHub for Git and GitHub for all my source control. I know this was, yet again, another quick demo of what you can do with it, but I hope it was useful. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will gladly go over more.